Good afternoon, and welcome to the virtual public information meeting for State Project 0034-0364, also known as the proposed I-84 Flex Lane in Danbury with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. My name is Amy Livingston, and today I will be your facilitator and meeting host. Before we get started, I want to walk us through a few of the logistical items of the meeting. If you are currently in this meeting and are having any issues with the web portion, you can certainly call into the meeting instead. We've included the phone number of the webinar and the webinar ID along with the passcode here, and we'll also drop it into the chat. You also should have received this information in the registration email. In Zoom, you have the ability to view captions or subtitles in English or a variety of other languages. To turn on this feature, click the Show Captions button or CC button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. Then select the Speaking Language button and select your desired language. This should automatically generate those captions. Following the presentation, we will have a live question and answer session. We encourage you to put your questions into the Q&A feature at any time during the presentation, and we'll address these after the presentation concludes. So to participate, select the Q&A tool at the bottom of your Zoom webinar window. The Q&A window will open as seen on the right side of this slide. Then you simply type in your question into the text box and click enter. During the Q&A session following the presentation, I'll be reading these out for the team to answer. If you're joining us today by phone and unable to use this feature, don't worry. We'll go through the instructions during the Q&A session to guide you through that process. I just want to note, though, that we will start that session with the questions in the chat box first. So please put them in anytime. As part of the Title VI Civil Rights Act, no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project. Additional information on the civil rights can be found on the link shown on the slide. We're also including here a link to a voluntary post-meeting survey. This survey helps us understand how this engagement experience was for you, so we can make sure all of our engagements are as inclusive and as effective as possible. A link to the voluntary post-meeting survey is also provided in the chat box. Note, this isn't how to comment on the actual proposed project. Don't worry, we're going to provide you a link for that later. This slide shows the Title VI notice to the public, which states that the Connecticut Department of Transportation operates its programs and services without regard to race, color, and national origin, in accordance with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Any person who believes he or she has been aggrieved by any unlawful discriminatory practice under Title VI may file a complaint with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. For more information on our civil rights program and the procedures to file a complaint, simply contact the Connecticut DOT Title VI coordinator at 860-594-2169, and that is TRS 711. Or you could email deborah.goss@ct.gov or visit our administrative office at 2800 Berlin Turnpike, Newington, Connecticut. For more information, visit our website at ct.gov/DOT. A complainant may file a complaint directly with the Federal Transit Administration by filing a complaint with the FTA Office of Civil Rights. Attention Title VI Program Coordinator, East Building, 5th floor, TCR 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast, Washington, D.C. 20590. This slide has the Title VI notice to the public in Spanish, as well as many other languages at the bottom. I will pause on the screen for a moment before moving to the next slide. At this time, I'm going to hand this over to Neil Patel, the Principal Engineer with Connecticut DOT, who will welcome you all and introduce the project team. Neil?
Thank you, Amy. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this virtual public information meeting for State Project 36364, the I-84 Flex Lane in Danbury. As you mentioned, I'm the principal engineer here at the department, and the purpose of today's meeting is to inform the public, the residents, businesses, everyone who uses I-84, Route 7, and the adjacent roadways, inform you of the proposed project. More importantly, we're here to listen to some feedback and answer your questions. We did hold a in-person meeting last Thursday, and we had a pretty good turnout, a lot of good comments, and we look forward to hearing from you today. So next slide, I'll introduce our team here from the department. Mike Calabrese is our division chief of highway design. Kevin Burnham is the project manager. Christian McDonald is the project engineer. And we are also supported by staff from our highway operations office, District 4 maintenance, traffic. We've got some folks here from our planning bureau and our communications department also. The lead consultant is CDM Smith, and from CDM Smith today we have Farrat Plurys, a project manager, and Mike Joyce is the lead highway engineer, and in fact, Amy also from CDM Smith are leading our public outreach. Next slide. So yeah, a little bit about the agenda, just quick background in terms of, this project was identified as an independent project from the larger I-84 Danbury Pell study that was recently completed, that concluded last year. So as you'll see, this is going to focus on providing congestion mobility improvements specific to that section of I-84 and Route 7 where it's a combined roadway. So we're going to talk about purpose and need, and then some of the benefits that the project is providing, and then really talk about what is the flex lane, how does it operate, right? It's important to ensure that we get that message out. It is the first one in Connecticut being proposed. We'll talk about some of the other improvements that are included in this project, and then wrap up with our cost and schedule, and then open it up for Q&A. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So the first thing we're going to do is show you, you might have seen this if you've gone on our website, but we're going to show a quick video that gives an overview of the flex lane and its components.
If you're tired of getting stuck in traffic on I-84 in Danbury, we've got some good news for you. Introducing the Flex Lane, the latest innovative traffic solution that the Connecticut Department of Transportation is exploring to keep you safe and moving on I-84. Flex lanes have already shown their success in states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio, improving traffic flow, commute times, and safety. The flex lane would allow vehicles to use the median shoulder as a temporary travel lane during times of congestion. By providing an extra lane when traffic is heaviest, the flex lane would reduce the potential for bottlenecks and sudden slowdowns that can lead to crashes. Once travel conditions improve, the flex lane would go back to being a shoulder. A series of signs would let drivers know when they can use the flex lane. A green arrow indicates that the flex lane is open, and a red X indicates that it's closed. Yellow X's tell drivers that the flex lane is ending soon, and they need to merge over. When the flex lane is open, drivers can enter and exit the lane whenever it's safe to do so, just like regular lane changing. The flex lane is designed to be constructed quickly and efficiently, using the existing roadway, which means fewer disruptions and faster improvements to safety and traffic flow. This way, everyone can enjoy a better commute sooner. The flex lane improves the highway and local streets for everyone, including bus riders and those that walk and bike, by keeping vehicles moving on the highway and off neighborhood streets. This also helps businesses by providing a more reliable route and reducing travel time moving goods and services. Want to learn more about the proposed flex lane on I-84 in Danbury? Visit i84danbury.com/flexlane to learn about this innovative solution the Connecticut Department of Transportation is exploring to keep you moving safely.
purpose of this project is we are looking to reduce the congestion and improve the mobility along 84, Route 7, and the adjacent roadways around the corridor. So this flex lane is proposed to go between exits 4 and 7, and the project limits stretch beyond that to include portions of Route 7 and 84 for some signage and some other road work, which we will discuss later on. How will FlexLane address this need? We're going to add as we saw in the video, we're going to add a temporary travel lane during those congested periods so that cars move better. This is a proven strategy that will look to improve the traffic flow. It is going to provide that extra capacity during the times when it's needed. It will be more reliable for both commuters and freight. And it's by having less congestion, there will be less congestion-related crashes. And how would the flex lane help here? Here is if you look at this heat map here, going from bottom to top, you see the direction of travel here in the eastbound direction on 84. And across the horizontal, from left to right, we are seeing time. And you can see that with the congestion being when it's the worst, when it's in the red colors, that this happens in this PM peak period. And there's a lot of the times of the day where it's green and the traffic is moving all right. When we consider the cost of widening and the impacts of widening, that it is more efficient to be able to use the capacity of the roadway now and just apply it when it is really needed during these PM peak rush hour here in this direction. And what we'll see, how will the flex lane improve that travel? Right now, we're seeing it takes about a half an hour to travel through this corridor in the peak period. And we expect, based on our modeling, that time to go down to about 8 minutes, having the flex lane in effect in the future year. That's a 74% reduction of travel time. On the other approach, this is a little bit different, where you can see on the top half of this, we're looking at the approach at Route 7, and then the rest of it is on 84, because this is really where the congestion bottleneck is in that merge. And you can see that particularly is during that AM peak. As this is a more limited area of congestion, this is not going to see quite as much improvements, but it's still looking at a 22% reduction in travel time. We've seen that as we've looked to design this, that a lot of success in other states, a couple that you see here in Wisconsin and Michigan. You can see that they've reduced travel times by as much as 45%. And they also are seeing a similar reduction in crashes in both scenarios here. We've also looked at Ohio, which they are a little bit newer and they don't have as much of the crash data, but they have also seen commute times and travel times improving in their corridors. What would the flex lane look like? So again, as we've seen in the video, that we are looking to take the existing corridor and the existing right-of-way we have and redistribute it in a way to make this lane work. So we're going to maintain a 10-foot shoulder on the right side. On the right side, there'll be 11-foot lane, 2 12-foot travel lanes, and then importantly for this is this 13-foot shoulder. So when at the times when it's not congested, that shoulder would be the lane would be closed and it would act as a shoulder as it does now. When congestion is appropriate, we would open that flex lane for an 11-foot travel lane with a 2-foot shoulder. And you can see there on the right that we would be also having a variable speed limit, which we would reduce to 45, as we are not looking to see this lane operated at a free flow condition. This is only to be operated during the times of congestion. Also, to identify congestion and to see that the flex lane is clear to operate, we will be installing CCTV cameras throughout the corridor to monitor the conditions, check for the obstructions in the flex lane, see for debris, see if there's any weather-related conditions that would prohibit openings, such as standing water or snow, and confirm any other kind of incidents that may happen in any of the lanes. How we will determine when to open this, we will first look to see that if it's a peak travel time. If not, we don't open it. When it is, we will then check the next condition and see if the roadway is congested. If it is, we will then look at these cameras that we just spoke about and see that the lane is open and safe for use. If it is, we will then open that lane and cars will be able to travel safely throughout the corridor. I will let Sharat now go into a little bit more detail of the way this is constructed.
Thanks, Kevin. So I'm going to talk first on the signage. So Kevin mentioned that the signage for the flex lane goes beyond the limits of the actual flex lane. So talk about the signage as you're heading either from Route 7 from Brookfield or New Milford, or you're coming in from Newtown or Bethel on 84. As you're approaching this portion of the flex lane, there'll be signage in advance to lead you up to the flex lane. So if you're traveling in the westbound direction, this first sign you'll see, it's not the first sign in the middle that you'll see will have the 7 South designated. So the travel lane that is closer to the flex lane would be designated as 7 South. And then there'll be 2 lanes available for 84 West, and there'll be signed for 84 West. This is something you don't see today, where you have signage for 84 West, always assigning those right 2 lanes to 84 West. So we are making that change on the sign panels itself. There'll be all new signs that'll show 84 West, the right 2 lanes, 7 South to be the travel lane next to the flex lane. And then there'll be the flex lane sign with the down arrow on if it's open. And as you're heading up to the interchange with Route 7 at exit 3, today you have a sign that is kind of like 2 hooked arrows. Always causes confusion for drivers to decide which lane they should be on to go to 7 South or 84 West. That is going to be changed. That sign will now have the right 2 lanes dedicated to 84 West. The left lane, the lane closer to the flex lane will be the 7 South. So allowing drivers to make changes to align themselves with the proper lanes. And as you know today, if you're exiting on 7, there's always 2 lanes available for that exit to Route 7. Similarly, in the eastbound direction, there's going to be signs leading up to exit 7 as you're coming up from Lake Avenue or from New York. The signs will always dedicate the right 2 lanes to 84 East towards Waterbury. The left lane would be lane to 7 North and to 202 East, and then the flex lane when it's open. And this is the sign that's out there today. We've heard a number of questions raised by stakeholders and the public about this middle lane being a lane that people get trapped on. And that's something that's not going to be there when the flex lane project is completed. That's the idea here, is to always have the right 2 lanes to go to 84 East. Going to the 7 South improvement. So this is an improvement that we are making as part of the Flex Lane project. This has come up quite a bit on our Pell study and also talking to the town of Brookfield. As you're approaching this area of 7 South today in the morning, if you travel this, it's always congested. There's a lane drop right at the at the merge where Federal Road comes in and traffic backs up all the way up to Brookfield and New Milford. So as part of this project, as you know, there's only one lane today going to 7 South to 84 West. The left lane of 7 South becomes an exit lane, exit only lane to 84 East, as the sign shows. In the future, what we are planning to do is to take the 2 lanes on 7 and extend them all the way through through the area, through Federal Road, and these lanes will merge onto 84 West, and they will go about 2,000 feet to the west, right kind of where the Rockwell Road bridge is. That's kind of where the lane will be merged. One of the lanes, the outside lane, would be merged onto 84, and the flex lane would open right then and there. So allows traffic to shift over from 7 South into the flex lane if they choose to, or merge with 84 and continue their trip towards 84. So this would help a lot of merging that happens now with Federal Road coming on and 7 South traffic trying to fight for space in that small area before they get onto 84. The lane that was initially signed or today signed for 7 South to 84 East will become a normal exit like this. It won't be an exit only lane. So there's very little traffic doing that today. They would just have to be on the left side to get onto that lane to go to 84 East. Just want to mention we are doing a pretty extensive noise analysis. This project classified as the highest level of noise analysis that is needed. That's called a type 1 study. We'll be identifying noise. We are working on the phase of identifying noise impacts. We have done a lot of data collection along the corridor to do the noise analysis, and the results will be available fairly soon for the project team. Going to the construction cost, the estimated construction cost for this project is about $250 million. The important thing to note here is half of that investment is on work that the department would do as part of what's called a state of good repair. So this is type of work that normal routine type maintenance, like the drainage, the median reconstruction, the lighting, the pavement, and also implementing the wrong way systems. The flex lane is 50% of the cost. So putting the gantries in, the lane control signs, the cameras, the variable speed limits, and looking at some isolated improvements. So keeping in mind that half of that investment is normal routine work that the department would do over time. The project schedule, we started back in 2025. We submitted our what's called a 30% design or preliminary design in October of 2025. We are here today. We did also have a public information meeting in an open house format in last week on Thursday. Today is our virtual public information meeting. We are waiting to get our federal highway design approval because we are working with an interstate system. We would require federal highway approval. That's planned for April. The design completion, so we would advance the 30% design into full construction plans sometime in early January. And then construction is estimated to start sometime in summer of 2028, and we anticipate that duration to be about 2 to 3 years. With that, I will turn it back to Amy.
Thank you, Sharat and Kevin. So before we shift into the question and answer session, I want to remind you of a few ways that we can take your feedback. There are multiple ways for you to submit comments, especially if you think of something after this meeting. I know it's a lot that we've gone over today. The QR code on the right-hand side of your screen will take you to our project website. You can submit a comment there on our website by emailing us, by mailing a comment to our headquarters, or giving us a call. And while we welcome your comments at any time, they're so important. The formal comment period associated with this particular public meeting runs through April 6th. And before we shift to the question and answer session, I want to take a quick moment to see if there are any elected officials here who would like to share a quick welcome or make a comment. If you are here, please raise your hand so we can identify you. All right. Well, I think with that, we will go ahead and shift over to the question and answer session of the presentation. First, we'll go over a couple of guidelines for the session. We ask that you only use respectful and professional language and meeting behavior. And to keep this a productive and efficient meeting, we may group similar questions we receive in an effort to stay efficient and on time. And as a reminder, a recording of this presentation and the Q&A session will be made available on the department's YouTube channel as well as the project's website. Might take us a day or so, but it will be up there. Another quick reminder of how to use the Q&A feature. Just simply go down and select the Q&A tool at the bottom of your Zoom webinar window. The Q&A window will open as seen on the right-hand side of this slide, and then you can type in your question into the text box and then click enter. We do have a couple of questions that we've gotten in through the Q&A, and then after that, we will see if anyone is available by phone and can't use this feature. But first, let's go ahead and ask a couple of these questions that we've gotten in the chat. The first question, I think we have by and large answered, but I want to go ahead and read it out loud in case there's additional information to add. The question or comment is to please elaborate on the Route 7 southbound improvements. How much time would be saved? Where will the two new through lanes extend into I-84 merge? And how will it work with the flex lane? Kevin or Neil, is there anything you'd like to add to what was covered in the presentation to answer this?
Well, again, I can just reiterate that, we do anticipate that in the eastbound direction, we're looking at saving about 74% in travel time. And in the westbound, it's about 22% for those peak hour times that it would be on. I think, I don't know.
Yeah, I can
add to any of
I
that.
can add to that. The 7 southbound merge as it comes on to 84 west would add 2 lanes onto 84. So you'll have the 2 lanes that if you're driving from Bethel and Newtown, you'll have 2 lanes on 84 where 7 south comes in. So at that point where Route 7 comes in, there'll be 4 lanes available. And what's going to happen is about, like I said, 2,000 feet downstream, there's the Rockwell bridge where that's outside 7 lane is going to merge back to 84. So when we get to that 3 lane piece is when when the flex lane will be open. So traffic on 84 can shift over to that flex lane, and the 7 south traffic would be able to merge on to 84. So that's the plan, is to extend that merging distance or merge point 2,000 feet downstream of where the 7 south comes in to allow for 7 south traffic to get in, and then also have the flex lane open so folks from 84 can now start to use the flex lane. And this is the morning rush hour, so the flex lane would be open at that time in the morning.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kevin and Sharat. That's a great question and a lot of great detail there. Quick nod, if you're looking for any of this in more detail, we do have plans and all of the slides that you see here we will have on the project website. You just scan right there and all of that information should be up there. Shifting to the next question, and Kevin, I think I'm going to throw this one at you. The question is, will the flex lane also be used for known busy weekend holiday shopping times, for instance, at Federal Road, exit 7, and Danbury Fair Mall, exit 3?
Initially, we are looking to deploy it to really look at these recurrent conditions that are known in the AM, PM peak. But we have and we are developing operating procedures to look at other times where congestion, the incident-related congestion or other incidents that could happen, or such as these times where different activity in the area may create congestion. We will develop operating procedures to open it during those times as well.
Awesome. Well, I think we have another question I think that's worth jumping to that may be helpful to tag onto this one. This question is, will the flex lanes be open on weekends?
Again, it's going to be based on whether or not congestion is at the level that meets the triggers, and we're not going to open it for additional capacity for free flowing traffic. That's not what this is meant for or designed for. But in the future, as once the highway operations unit is comfortable with the initial deployment, they will look to see about creating other procedures for opening it at other times of congestion.
Wonderful. We're getting some really good questions, so thank you all for being so engaged. Um, Here's another one, similar. When the flex lane is closed, heading toward Norwalk, will there only be one lane to go south on Route 7 from I-84? I don't know if Sherrod or
So,
Kevin.
Yeah.
you're going to go ahead, Neil?
Yeah, just to kind of clarify that, right? So today we kind of have a lane. You have the left lane, and then you have that middle lane as a decision lane that opens up into the 2-lane exit ramp. And so the 2-lane exit ramp will still remain. So there'll be 2 lanes going to Route 7 in both directions. But when the flex lane is not operating, that left lane will open up to those 2 lanes for the exit ramp for Route 7. And that's, I think the signage kind of will reflect that, which will make it much better. The signage will be improved, which will just be that in itself will help with some of the existing confusion that's out there today.
And that's why, just to add to what Neil is saying, that's why the signs are being replaced to designate that left lane next to the flex lane as an exit only lane. So we like to have people using that lane if they're going 7 south. And so the flex lane, if it's open, would then transition into the 2 exit lanes going towards Norwalk. So that was the whole purpose of the signage exercise, is to kind of make sure they line up.
Right. And I'm also reminded that we do have some images in this presentation related to the signage. Those are located on the website in PDF. We had an in-person meeting and there are some boards there. So if you have any more questions about exactly what that signage might look like, go ahead and navigate over there. And I think that could help answer some of those questions. I think we all know that improved signage, gosh, what a great improvement that could be. Let me go to the next question. This one says, flex lanes also worked well in Boston, Massachusetts. They used a fixed time for the flex lane to be open so that it doesn't randomly open and close with traffic. Why does this system check traffic before opening the lane?
Um, why this is important here is that the way this lane is constructed and configured, we don't want to see free flowing traffic there. So if we just opened it at a particular set time, we wouldn't we might have introduced traffic in there at speeds that we don't want to see in that flex lane at that time. So we will we do anticipate that it's going to open regularly during those recurrent congestion conditions, but we will wait until those conditions develop and those speeds warrant us opening it and are safe to run this lane as designed.
Wonderful. All right, you guys are just hitting us up with some really great questions. They keep coming in. Um, so the next one is, how does the flex lane work when you approach the Route 7 southbound connector or the Exit 8 interchange eastbound at the split of I-84 near the Brookfield exit? I guess my question is, why not change the lane of the flex lane to be the left lane and not the leftmost lane? that make sense? You want me to reread it again, that last part?
Yes, please.
I know okay. Why not change the lane of the flex lane, meaning where the flex lane is actually running, to be the left lane, not the leftmost lane? And this is when you approach the Route 7 southbound connector or the Exit 8 interchange eastbound at the split of I-84 near the Brookfield exit.
I can take that, Amy.
Okay.
One of the reasons is we did a lot of traffic modeling to look at the volumes, especially when the flex lane is going to be open. That's going to be in the morning rush hour. And 84 is fairly congested coming in 80 towards that 7 South March. So if we start to take one of those lanes away and start to put them as call it as a flex lane, it might be difficult for folks to be able to comprehend that, which lane should they be on to get to the flex lane. And the signage would not be ready at that point for designating that as the flex lane. And the biggest concern that we had, especially in the morning, was the 7 South traffic, which is a good 1/3 of the total traffic that is on 84 westbound, is able to merge in when 84 has the right amount of volume, or we call the available capacity on the road, to merge with that 7 South traffic. So having to designate both those 84 lanes as travel lanes was important for us. And that's kind of what we found out as we did our analysis. We were at one point looking at start pushing the flex lane start further back towards Newtown, but it did not work. Given that it did not work as well or better than what we did, because that 7 South traffic has a big influence on that area, and we want to make sure that before that traffic gets in, 84 has full available lanes going westbound.
Yeah, and I do see that there was a follow-up from this person. They said, I can see cars using the flex lane at that area of Route 7, cutting over at the last moment as you come up to the Route 7 area. So yeah, I think you helped address that, Sharat. All right. Let's see. The next question is, I understood a benefit of the flex lane was to reduce the I-84 traffic east, leaving at exit 8 and clogging Route 6 east in Stony Hill. Why doesn't the flex lane extend past exit 8 to allow smooth traffic to pass the exit?
I can take that. The limits of the flex lane were defined based on the level of congestion that is in this corridor in those peak periods. And as Kevin said and showed that heat map of when the congestion happens and what time of the day it happens. In the eastbound direction, when you pass exit 7, we notice that a lot of the traffic is already on that 7 North exit and peels off at 7 North. So when you look at the volume just east of that 7 North, the volumes were not as high enough to warrant the need for a flex lane to continue at this point. So the analysis really recommended that we kind of transition that flex lane to 7 North, and that's how the design is laid out. As you go further east on 84 towards Newtown and towards exit 8, there's other situations that are happening, especially with the 7 South to 84 East ramp that comes on the left side, which always is a concern of traffic trying to merge in and cut across to exit 8. All of those factors start to play in. So what we did as part of our analysis and then later on the design is to recommend the portion that is between exit 4 and 7 as the kind of the main cause of the congestion in both directions in those peaks.
Yeah, I'd also add that, we this kind of came out of a larger initial study of this corridor in this area. And there are other recommendations that, we will look forward to in the future as far as some of the corrections to some deficiencies in the interchanges. And if the flex lane is successful, we'll see about implementing them in the future and perhaps extending the flex lane further along this corridor or others.
Great points. Another one is more related to the schedule. Can one of you give a little bit of an overview again of the schedule, like when this is anticipated to be operational?
Yeah, I can chime in on that. Right now, based on our anticipated schedule, we're looking to wrap up the design in 2028, which would get us into construction later that year. And again, as with a lot of our construction projects and trying to maintain traffic, that does take a few years. So I mean, we're looking at hopefully getting operational by 2031 right now.
Great. And if anybody did miss that, I know I sound like I'm on repeat, but we do have a board that includes the schedule and includes all of those intermediate steps that Neil just mentioned in case you miss any of that. We do have it available on the website. Um, so this person shared a concern. They drive 84 West daily, and they've noticed people already using the breakdown lanes many times and then cutting across 2, 3 traffic lanes at the exit 3 and 4. Um, their concern is in making the breakdown lane in the left will further congest the area for people zooming around and cutting back in across multiple lanes. Can someone speak to this concern or anything that might be helpful in your design considerations?
So the concern is the use of the flex lane during,
I can take
Yeah,
that.
I
okay.
think it sounds like
Cutting over
using
at the
cutting over right now. It sounds like they're already using the shoulder
Yeah.
just to get there with impatience and what this might look like when the flex lane is actually operational and any
Okay.
considerations of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Neil, you want to answer that? You
Yeah,
want
well,
me
I
to?
think first off, the signage, right? Like we mentioned the signage, right? That's going to help folks understand that split that's coming up, right? The 84 Route 7
Right.
today. That signage is not there. It's at the last minute. A lot of folks cut over at the last minute because of that. So that in itself is going to be an improvement. And no, this is something that we've heard about even last weekend in our in-person meeting. But again, the department is looking at other measures, related to how does enforcement get done within this area. And so, we continue those discussions. The front office here is well aware of some of the concerns, and I think this kind of relates to a follow-up question, Jennifer, that you had on erratic driving and speed, and again, driver behavior and all that. So that is something that is a concern. Safety is a concern to the department, not just here but throughout the state. And so there are some proposed legislative bills that are up in session as we speak that are looking at possible ways to enforce the use of especially the flexing.
And I just want to add about the variable speed limit sign. So I think that's one of the reasons behind implementing that VSL sign for making sure that there's a posted speed limit that's well below what people are driving at today. Now, understandable that people are going to probably not take that into, as they're making lane changes, but the whole point of that variable speed limit is to make sure there's speed harmonization in that section, so people are able to make those lane changes more smoothly and still maintain that ability to make to take exits. So the flex lane, as Kevin talked about it, the flex lane will not be open if the speeds go over 45. So if the speeds tend to become higher, that breakdown lane or the left lane will be closed. So that's definitely one of the features that was looked at as part of the design, is to implement that variable speed limit sign.
And I do think you guys very much got into this next question and thinking about erratic driving and speed and how can we better address this? I know, Neil, you touched on this, but I think, are there going to be speed cameras as part of the project? You guys mentioned or showed cameras earlier. The question is, would they be here just like Middletown has?
Kevin, you want to
So
clarify the cameras?
Yeah, so the cameras that are definitely being put in there are really for monitoring whether the lane is clear and other incidents. As Neil did mention, we are looking at various um, uh, legislation that perhaps would allow different enforcement through camera technology, which would be separate cameras, not the cameras that are in place here. But we have to wait and see how the legislative process plays out. And we are taking in, this has been something that has been a concern in other informational meetings, and we have related that to management, and that's why we're pursuing these other avenues to see that we get better enforcement.
And to add, right from the get-go, we met with state police, local Danbury fire and police and emergency responders, right, to basically inform them of how this operates and what their standard operating procedures would be in terms of getting any incidences out there. And so, yeah, in terms of the state police are definitely aware and working together on how to try to implement as much as enforcement as you can, right? They can't be everywhere. So
Right, right. And as you mentioned earlier, safety is at the heart of this project and really everything the department does. Um, okay, well, we have another question or comment, and I think I can answer that related to the other engagement that's happened. So, today we're at this virtual public meeting. Last Thursday, there was an in-person public meeting, but we know that not everybody has the time to participate or go to a public meeting. So over the last 6 months, our team has been doing pop-up events, meaning we've been tabling at various locations throughout this region. We've been to the Danbury Farmers Market and the DMV and um, Bethel's Public Library, as well as the one in New Milford. Our team has been actively getting out in the community, providing flyers, encouraging people to understand what this project is proposing. We recognize that this is the first time, we're proposing a solution like this and understand it's really important that other folks know and we start education. As Neil mentioned, we've had several one-on-one meetings or small group meetings with others, not just those elected officials, with each of the municipalities that we know people aren't just driving from Danbury through this corridor. We know that this is really, really connecting through. So we've met with, in addition to the town of Danbury, the town of Brookfield, Ridgefield, New Milford, Bethel, and have started reaching out to some other partners to start those first steps of education, like AAA and the Motor Association of Connecticut. So we appreciate you guys being here and helping us build awareness of this project. As we mentioned, all of the materials are available online. We're really asking people to provide us their thoughts and feedback through April 6th. And of course, we want feedback all the time, but putting a deadline on that allows us to pull all those comments and feedback together and be able to look at that holistically. Um, I think we have one more question that has popped in, and this is more related to schedule. And I think this is the question of why do we need this long to get there? It shouldn't need until 2030 to 2031. Couldn't a simple flex lane implementation using the existing roadway with no new construction be fast-tracked with the signage? It says Route I-93 or Route 3 in Boston simply has a sign allowing driving on the shoulder during rush hour, which costs nearly nothing and could be quickly implemented. An automated speed limit open closing sign should be possible to add. Maybe someone can talk about all of the state of good repair um, investments as well as those required processes to get there. Neil, you want to
yeah,
take a stab at
I
this
can
one?
start off. Yeah, first of all, So, one of the things, the advantages of undertaking this project now is even without a flex lane proposed, this section of roadway was due for its not annual cycle, sorry, but its cycle for paving and addressing some of the deteriorating paving conditions. So it lines up well with the fact that not only are we doing the improvements to implement the flex lane, but we're also addressing some of the pavement conditions. We are, drainage is also an important part of this. So we're upgrading drainage, the illumination is getting upgraded. There are a couple other safety measures, one with detection systems that are also going into this project also. So it's not just, like as Sharad had mentioned, we talked about the cost estimate. It's not just flex lane improvements that are being proposed here. But in regards to just simply signing and using the shoulder, that would be problematic in that, there are some design considerations of the shoulder that are substandard that would make it unsafe. And that's why, as part of the project, we are going to be addressing that to ensure that gliding in that shoulder is going to be safe. We've got to address some of the drainage that's out there. Sure. Anything else in terms of, I'm not sure about the I-93, if that's a right shoulder. I believe that might be a right shoulder, which is something that we dismissed early on as a very unsafe condition.
I can take that, Neil.
Yeah.
The one in Boston that was mentioned a couple of times is what's called a reversible lane. That I believe was a lane that you could use in the median shoulder, but that lane was one lane that you could switch in the morning going into Boston. In the afternoon becomes the lane coming out. So it's the same space, but it's reversed in each direction, depending on the time of day. That was on the left shoulder still, and there was a barrier that shifts or was shifting that allowed that transition to happen where people can get in and out of that area depending on the time of day. So it was not, this is kind of different. We looked at that early on in the project, and we had some concerns with the bridges in the corridor.
Yeah. Sharad, just sorry to interrupt, but yeah, it was just a follow-up, and he is talking about the right shoulder, a fixed right shoulder. Yeah, which we dismissed the right shoulder early on. It is very dangerous in terms of with the exit, the off ramps and the on ramps. A lot of those ramps are somewhat deficient today, and you'll be making them even more deficient by using that right shoulder. A lot of other states do use the right shoulder. I know Georgia does. There's a bus only, they use the right shoulder during the congested period. So a lot of different cases around the country that we've looked at in terms of the flexing.
Sure. And they did clarify that they were referring to the fixed right shoulder in Boston.
Yeah.
So you guys are
Sorry about that. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So related to those, got a couple of other questions, comments. Are shoulders normally constructed to support regular traffic loads or designed lighter?
Yeah, when shoulders are usually constructed under that flexible paving, which is really just not to handle live traffic loads at all times. Travel lanes are, you have the concrete base. So that's another part of it, is that we do have to reconstruct that shoulder to accept the additional traffic, even though it's only during those congested peak times.
And then there's another question. I think this is kind of looking at the overall PELS study. The question of the comment is, I believe an expansion was originally being looked at. Is this the outcome of that review versus widening?
So yeah, that is still the part of the long-term alternatives that require additional environmental review in the future. And what is very likely is, as after the flex lane is implemented and operating, as we look at those long-term alternatives, there could very well be additional alternatives that include expansion of a flex lane. In addition to, like Kevin mentioned, we still want to address those interchange deficiencies, the left-hand exits where we've said we want to move them over to the right. So yeah, it's still part of the long-term solution for the corridor from state line to exit 8.
These are some really great questions.
Yeah.
Have we talked about trucks yet and their uh, usage, or really, I should say, not usage of this? Has that come up yet?
Sorry, you want to talk about
I
that?
can go with that.
Kevin can go with that.
Yeah, so yeah, we probably glossed over that a little quick when we went through the presentation, but there was in there indication that um, you know, that the flex lane will prohibit the trucks as they are from left lane and a number of our corridors. So yeah, no trucks will be allowed in the flex lane.
Thank you for that clarification. Got another comment that came through, a little bit of a question here. From their perspective, the increase of traffic seems to be directly connected to the increase of traffic from commuters who travel between New Milford area towards Route 7, Norwalk. After the I think this means completion of the Super 7, traffic congestion from people merging to the left-hand exit 7 from exit 3 has increased dramatically. The concern is that until the state addresses the left-hand exit 7, isn't the flex lane a band-aid on the larger problem? Shouldn't we be talking about an overpass for exit 7 like DOT did for the I-84 91 in Hartford? So I guess the question is this a band-aid? Should we instead be looking at an overpass for exit 7?
Well, we believe, when we looked at, the modeling on this, that this flex lane does do a lot of good for the congestion we do, and it's also something that can be implemented quickly and address that congestion quickly. We do recognize that it's not the complete solution to some of these interchange problems, and as Neil mentioned, as part of the bigger picture and further analysis as it goes on, we will look to address those circumstances as well.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think one of the things that we've heard, even from the larger study and outreach, or the outreach that we did, was that Route 7 southbound approach with the one lane approach queues and backs up throughout, I think, a couple miles when there's
at least 3 miles. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've incorporated that into this project where we're able to reconfigure that Route 7 southbound approach so that it's a two-lane entrance ramp onto 84.
I was just about to say we don't have any more questions, but here we go. We've got one. Sorry about that. Keep them coming. We're here to answer them. I know the middle of the country was researched, but was the 215 highway and construction in Vegas ever part of the congestion research? They noted that they had the same issues there in Vegas. Um, did you guys ever look at anything out that way?
Yeah, I don't think we didn't look at anything out in the Las Vegas area with 215. We did, I think we mentioned one of the state of Ohio, very similar situation, I-375, I think, and Cincinnati area. Very similar situation, about 5 miles. Nothing, and they've seen dramatic improvement in the short time that it's been open. Similar to some of the other states.
And I think you guys had a number of one-on-one conversations to really dive into them, understand how the operation is truly going, and did a little bit more than just research, but had those conversations.
Right. Yeah, that was valuable. Just talking to the folks on how they went about not just planning it, designing it, operating it. Those are all key factors that helped us. And they're still continuing to help us. We'll continue to reach out to them as we go through the process.
Sure. All right, let's keep those questions coming. These are great. You guys have been extremely engaged. It's wonderful. As somebody who has their career in public engagement. It's wonderful to see an engaged community. While we're waiting to see if any other questions, some other engagement that we did take out some fact sheets about the proposed flex lane in a few different languages, and also shared those throughout the communities at community-based organizations, nonprofits, folks that particularly might reach people who typically don't attend public meetings. So certainly if you work for one of those organizations, or if you'd like to have some fact sheets uh, shared with you digitally or in print, shoot us an email at this email here and we'll see what we can do for you. And then on the next screen, if you want to go ahead and scoot us down to that last slide while we're pausing to make sure that there are no additional questions. Since you guys have been so wonderfully engaged, we'd love to invite you to stay engaged with us, stay part of this process as we move forward. We're on just about everywhere you can think about on social media, Facebook, X. I know it's really hard not to call it Twitter these days still. Instagram, follow along. We'll put information out on ways to engage, FAQs, that sort of thing. Or if you want to stay alert of any other opportunities, visit our website again. You can sign up for email updates. And with that, I do have another question for us. This question is kind of about maintenance and keeping the roads clean. Typically, local streets are cleaned with sweepers. Do they plan to use similar sweepers after opening the flex lane for commuters?
I think
Kevin's
that's
gonna take.
yeah.
Neil?
I mean, I could start right. So yeah, right now the plan is to use the cameras for the visual clearance of the lanes, so they can do a camera sweep through there and see if there's anything. Well, that's going to be part of our discussions with highway operations and maintenance in terms of you have a maintenance garage right there, I believe, on Great Plains Road or somewhere in there. We were talking to those folks. They came to our in-person public meeting last week, and we've been talking to them before in terms of that should be part of maybe it may not be a daily occurrence that they go through and sweep, but that'll be factored into some of the operations in terms of how the lane is managed.
Right. I know there's certainly been a lot of discussions about keeping that lane clear and keeping people moving safely. We did drop in the chat those links to our social media and ways to sign up for updates.
And I believe we are, I don't know if you mentioned Steve, but there's an event is it Brookfield? In June?
Brookfield.
June,
Yes.
June 7th, if I'm
Yes.
not correct. I mean, I know that let me see, I've got this listed here. Let's see. June 7th.
Yes.
Yes, it is June 7th. Perfect. Thanks, guys. It's their annual block party, and you are right, it is in Brookfield. So we hear that is quite the event. Lots of folks there. So we will be there to answer more questions. Just giving a little pause to make sure there are no final questions. But of course, if you shift back to the other screen, I know it was a lot to take in today. I personally am the person, I'm walking my dog and I go, oh my gosh, why didn't I ask that question? Well, guess what? You can still ask it. It's not too late if it's after this. I know we've shared a number of times our email address or our website. If you put it there, we'll get it back to you as soon as possible. I just want to make one last call for questions. I haven't seen any come in for a while. Just want to make sure you.
And looks like a lot of folks have started to drop off, but just wanted to, those that have stayed, thank you again for attending. Some folks have been even to some of our previous meetings. So again, thank you for taking your time to join us for this important meeting, and look forward to hearing from you in the future. As we mentioned, we still have quite a ways to go, but we have time also to take in more comments and questions via social media or email. All right. So thank you everyone for joining. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you all.